Hi, this is Dave Littman, and welcome to another Truth in IT Extreminar. Today we are going to be joined by folks from Arcserve, and we are going to be talking about data protection for virtual environments. In a second, I'm going to be bringing on Preston and the team from Arcserve. This webinar is going to go about 30 minutes in duration, maybe 45 minutes, depending upon how many questions we get. And what you will notice is there is a Q&A panel, so please just go ahead and enter your questions. We'll take them as they come in. We'll save some for the end. We're going to do the best we can to get as many questions answered as we can. If we don't get your question answered, someone from Arcserve will get back to you right away with an answer. Also, we are going to be having a giveaway of a DJI Phantom 3 drone. This is a pretty serious device. You can fly this thing literally a mile away. It takes 1080p video. You can even live stream with it. So it is an awesome, awesome professional toy. But listen, to win, you have to be watching the screen and you have to stay until the end of the webinar. We are not going to announce it verbally. We're just going to flash your name across the screen. So if you see your name, just chat in that you saw your name and we will arrange shipment of the drone to you offline. So without further ado, stand by. I'm going to switch the stream. I'm going to bring the team on. Good luck with the drone. Thanks for watching, and we'll come back to you a little bit later. Okay. So hey, on the bottom of the screen next to me, you're going to see W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup and CEO of Truth in IT. Curtis, welcome.
Hello.
And to your left, we are excited to have Todd Obert, the CEO from Productive Corp. Todd is one of Arcserve's major partners here in the US. And in the center of your screen, we have Michael Crest, who is CEO of Arcserve. And to your right, Christophe Bertrand, VP of Product Marketing with Arcserve. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. And without further ado, Curtis, I'm going to kick things over to you.
So, hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon or perhaps even good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. This is an interesting time. We're going to talk to Arcserve, a company, or should I say a product, that I've known for many, many years. I started, for those of you that don't know, I started in backup and recovery 20-something years ago, and back when I did in the early 90s, Arcserve was one of the first commercial backup and recovery products, and then it's gone through an incredible life since then. So. We're going to talk to Mike first. Mike, you're the CEO of Arcserve, the company. Tell me about how long has Arcserve, the product, been around?
Well, Curtis, it's great to be with you. David, thanks very much, first and foremost, for that. We're excited to be here today. So Arcserve, the product, has been around since 1990. It started back in the day of Cheyenne, and as you all know, was sold to CA for some period of time, and most recently was carved out from CA. So we're very excited about that story and taking you through that journey today.
So what the company? So Arcserve, the product's been around a long time. How long's the company been around?
Yeah, so we carved out from CA Technologies back in August of 2014. So we're 21 months into it, or thereabouts at this point. And it's been an exciting ride for us as we've really gained independence as a company. And we really set forth as an independent company for a variety of reasons. We knew that CA really needed to focus on some core markets. We also knew that we focused on some core markets, and those two didn't intersect. And so therefore, it was one of those situations where the carve-out was better for both organizations. And what we saw with regard to Arcserve was this fantastic opportunity. As you know, this market is enormous. It's about a $6 billion market. It's one that is growing exponentially. There's a lot of change going on. At the same time, there's a lot of need for deep experience. And we knew that with regard to our strong heritage, as well as this very modern architecture solution called Arcserve UDP, that we could really take advantage of that significant change in large market. And so in turn, we said, let's go set forth as on our own and build this as a platform. You know, we have people that are in about 30 countries across the world. We do business in over 150. We've got about 8,000 partners across the world and really have a very significant reach, and knew that this was a fantastic platform by which we could grow and help those customers really realize the benefits of what it really means to have total data protection in their environment. And so as such, that's where we carved it out, and it's been a very exciting ride since then, coming out with, as you well know, at the very early onset of the company, Arcserve UDP, several releases since then that have continued to drive ourselves well into the cloud, well into virtualization, really helping customers unify this whole back end, if you will, of data protection. We call, in many cases, this multi-platform environment that's very, very complex, and helping distill that into a very simplified way of managing that, yet still giving the flexibility of navigating between all of those various platforms. In addition to that, we've also released an appliance, and we saw that as a very significant opportunity for our customers that frankly desired just a simple form factor that was a set and forget, that they therefore could plug into their environment and literally in minutes be up and running and have that great, robust, deep experience of UDP that is the engine, as it were, within that appliance. So that, combined with the fact that our people every day, all we do is we get up and we think about building and helping customers achieve success in the data protection area. And so therefore, the over 500 people we have across the world that are at this company called Arcserve is a pretty exciting opportunity for us. We've grown substantially year over year. New product sales have never been higher, and they continue to break records every quarter. We're coming off a record quarter this past quarter and looking for another record quarter coming up here in our first quarter for the fiscal year. So it's been a lot of fun and just a fantastic journey for all of us as we've gained our independence.
So what can you tell me about Arcserve, the company, right? So you split off from CA. It sounds like about 2 years ago. It sounds like. Tell me about Arcserve. I think you guys sent us an overview slide of Arcserve, the company. Why don't you talk about that? Yeah.
So Arcserve, the company. It really is not what you would typically think, by the way, of your heritage Arcserve. Well, Arcserve has really strong foundational elements of the company or product, as it were. Who we are as a company today is dramatically different than what we were in the past, and how so is along the following dimensions. Culturally, it's very much a dynamic environment, very fast-moving. We're one that is privately held, and so therefore we have the latitude to make decisions, very strategic decisions, in a matter of moments. And so things like the appliance, as we mentioned, clearly is a very good indication of our ability to execute and execute very, very well. Let alone the fact that customers should fully expect that also manifests in the form of great quality that we produce every day, as our team literally thinks about building great products every day. And it's the only thing that we focus on. We don't focus on a number of different solutions. And so when you look at our heritage in terms of what we've done since the carve-out in the company, it's while patting ourselves on the back a little bit here, it's quite remarkable. Frankly, came out with an appliance. We've had several releases of Arcserve UDP. We've come out with a cloud offering for disaster recovery as a service. We've done a number of things there. We have people throughout the world that enable us to be able to distribute our technology and do it in a way that clearly is one that continues to drive momentum for us. Also getting recognized by third parties. We have most recently come away with what we would regard as probably the most prestigious award at VMworld in North America and also VMworld in EMEA. Both of those awards, frankly, are very highly regarded in the virtualization space. Many people may think of us as this tape-based physical product that was really relegated to that part of the enterprise. Quite candidly, that's not who we are. Who we are today is a very modern, built from the ground up found technology in Arcserve UDP that allows customers to continue to navigate on-prem, but more importantly, extend their reach into the cloud. And so our culture, our technology, the way we do business today is very, very much leaning into the future and helping customers future-proof what they do by investing in great technology today that they know is going to be there tomorrow.
And I see that you're headquartered in Minneapolis, which some people might tilt their head, but it's interesting. My first commercial backup product was a product that was headquartered out of Minneapolis, And there are at least two other backup products, some of which are are well known today that have their roots out of Minneapolis. It's an interesting little one of the various tech corridors. I don't think people really realize that, specifically out of backup.
Oh, absolutely. The very strong heritage here. Certainly Veritas, way back in the day with NetBackup, has a strong presence here. Companies like Compellent, very, very significant growth story with them. To even Code 42, who also have an endpoint capability here in market. And of course, now us. We have over 50 people that darken our door every day at Arcserve headquarters here in Minneapolis, and that continues to grow. And it's one in which, not only being a Minnesotan myself, I also know full well that the quality of people that we can recruit here in Minneapolis is fantastic. And we have fantastic people across the world at the same time. We knew that we could build a great foundation here, high integrity, great work ethic, strong academic background, let alone this heritage within the industry itself.
So you mentioned that that it's been about 2 years, and that you've made some. I think you guys actually sent a timeline slide on what you've done since then. Well, there's quite a few things on that slide. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I think it all starts, quite frankly, in our heritage, in which, again, we have a very strong product in Arcserve Backup that continues to be the dominant player in the tape-based side of the equation for customers. And that continues to be a relevant aspect of customers' data centers, yet to the extent that it's moving further offline, as we all know. At the same time, we took that very strong heritage and built a product called Arcserve UDP, which was, again, a very modern architecture, one in which we knew that customers today are really desiring this notion of simplification, meaning there's a whole bunch of disparate niche products that exist in the customer's data center. And our customer, frankly, wants that simplified, but also wants the capability of these isolated or niche products. And so therefore we set forth with this idea that, hey, what if we took really strong world-class virtualization capabilities and image-based backup capabilities in cloud and incorporated into one unified solution that delivered that through a single pane of glass. And that's what we set forth with UDP. We've also found, though, that UDP really becomes a very nice gateway for our customers and partners, in which UDP is now the engine that sits on top of the appliance. The appliance was released since, well, we became a company. UDP, by the way, was very early on in our days as becoming independent. And then furthermore,
by the way, let me just ask one question. So UDP stands for what?
Unified Data Protection. So it takes, again, all these disparate, we believe that products become features over time, which if you look at any single aspect of the industry, that's proven out. And then clearly that convergence is occurring here in our own industry itself.
And so you mentioned the appliance. Talk to me a little bit about the cloud. Looks like you also have some cloud functionality that you've added.
Yeah, and cloud is one of those things. It's it could be many different things to many different people, and there's probably 5, 6, 7 different iterations of cloud in our industry today. How we really see it is really disaster recovery as a service, and that backup as a service is one thing where you're putting your bits in the cloud and effectively having to recover them back over the wire. But it's another thing that if you can provide this idea of continuous availability, whereby whether you are failing over on-prem or failing over into the cloud, we provide that capability for our customers. And that is fully encapsulated into our portfolio, such that if you buy our appliance, you have a cloud option. If you buy Arcserve UDP, you have a cloud option. And so we see this being a very natural extension that most customers today, at the end of the day, aren't in one modality. They're having to navigate at least 2, if not 3, of the primary platforms, whether it's physical or virtual or cloud or some iteration in between there. And so this cloud offering really allows our customers to have that choice of failing over into the cloud and full-on capability in which they can do full disaster recovery as a service.
Great. All right. Anything else that you wanted to cover before I move on to talk to Christophe?
Take it away, Christophe.
All right. There he is, Mr. Branded. I like your very bold branding across the top. You are Arcserve man.
What work for, right?
So, I think Mike has already given us an overview of Arcserve, the company, and the product. Let's talk about a few specific things. And again, I believe that you sent an overview slide of the product itself,
right.
And there's a whole bunch of different things there on that slide. The first one that pops up to me, because it's in the upper left-hand corner, is remote office backup, which is a real problematic, since back in the day, right? I mean, when I worked at what at that time was the second largest credit card company, we had buildings all around upper Delaware, and they were remote offices to me, even though they really weren't. They weren't what most people think of as remote offices. We had that problem. I had to literally drive around and swap tapes between many buildings, right? And so, but today that problem is that there are, you look at you guys, that company slide, you've got offices all over, and that is just the way things are these days. So how do you handle that remote office problem?
Yes, it's one of the strong suits of our solution. So as Mike explained, UDP is unified data protection, and if you start at the top left, you indeed see the sort of robo scenario. And what we have is an architecture that allows us to not only protect data locally, but also built in, you have replication. Also built in. So I'll cover those two aspects in a minute. But if you look at this with data, wherever it is, we're going to essentially through our deduplication capability what we have, what we don't have, and we're going to share that across all of the recovery point servers, which can be appliances or can be software. So what's really cool about what we do here is that because we have this great appliance that's easy to set up, that's got wizards, I have this, always tell this story. We had, when we did our beta of the appliance, we were just doing the reviews of how things went, and this one individual says, I was up and running in less than 45 minutes, but it took me 20 minutes to put it in a rack. And I asked him, well, hang on, was it missing screws or whatever? And he said, well, I'm not an IT guy, I'm the operations guy, and I just didn't know how to put it in a rack because I'd never done that. But it tells you how easy things have become. Long gone are the days of tape that you have to move around as you used to do. Now it's all disk to disk, it's all block level incremental. Deduplication kicks in, and it gets replicated to that central location, and all that intelligence is essentially transmitted as you go, fully protected, encrypted, etc. So very, very different world we live in. And if you look at the picture here, you see your primary site, which is probably what you'll start with. We can also leverage our heritage with tape. We support virtualization extremely well. As Mike indicated, we have received quite a bit of recognition from the industry in that space, and we do a lot of high availability and near high availability capabilities. And what has changed, Curtis, is 20, 25 years ago, candidly, backup was really for experts. It was difficult. It was complicated to get that level of feature set.
We liked it that way.
Yes, I know.
But by the way, just to interrupt for a second. By the way, either of you guys, anybody can chime in at any time. So if you guys, if you have anything that you want to contribute to the discussion, feel free. Just because I'm interviewing Christophe or anybody in particular, feel free to do that. Anyway, go ahead, Christophe.
Right. So a couple of things. Virtual environments critically well. We were designed for virtual environments, and we're leveraging the technology as part of our disaster recovery capabilities. We have standby capabilities, which allows you to literally have a standby machine ready to go at any point. We have instant VMs. We have a bunch of other things we do around virtualization and full support. So when you think about it, although the world is moving towards virtualization, it's also moving towards cloud. So we have built technology with, again, a lot of simplicity, which is something I really want to point out. We do all of this with a very simple and easy-to-use solution. So you still get the firepower of an enterprise class type of solution from a feature set, but you get the simplicity of what would be more akin to an SMB and really an IT generalist type of solution. So we take that, we protect it meaning from my you can not only use it as a destination, should you use public cloud as an end user, you may have relationships with some of the logos you see at the bottom left, but we also offer our specialty disaster recovery as a service option, which of course is fully compatible and interoperable with our technology. And that's really the benefit of using this Arcserve UDP technology, because it's fully interoperable across all of your sites. Whatever the destination is, whatever the source is, you can leverage that replication, fan in, fan out, and we have other for recovery. We're really this SLA dial, like the service level agreement dial. You can decide how much protection you want, how quickly you want to recover, and based on that, we'll apply the right technology behind the scenes. You don't have to be a PhD in backup to be able to get a very advanced level of feature set.
Hey Curtis, just like to chime in for a second. So I thought that was kind of an interesting response from Christophe, and I'm wondering how Todd would sort of, add to that, being that Arcserve integrating with the public cloud, how that would sort of impact the partner relationship and how the service provider can help along those lines as well.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on which way. I mean, I would assume that Arcserve integrating it through the cloud, we'd still be driving that solution, right? And in terms of the end user, right, that just opens up another avenue for them, right? You talk about disaster recovery as a service, for example, right? Well, we have customers that are all along the continuum. Some still have, are backing up to tape, right? Some are doing a disk, and some are putting part of it or all of it in the cloud. So as our customers move along this continuum, that's going to be the next step, right? So, and how they approach it, how they do it, what they decide to keep there, what they decide to keep in the cloud, we're going to let them decide, but we need to have that option to have those discussions.
Yeah, I love options. I am a little curious, and I also agree with your statement of letting the customer decide. Obviously, right? Actually, I'll get asked a lot when I'm on the road of, well, hey, how long should I set my retentions, or should I use disk, or should I? And it's like, well, what does your business want to do, right? That's what matters, right? I am curious, though, are you seeing a trend, like to what degree are people leveraging, for example, this idea of being able to actually recover to the cloud, to actually run instances in the cloud?
Yeah, well, I'll speak, right? We service mid-sized customers, so everybody from about 100 end users up to maybe a couple thousand, right? That would be our sweet spot. So classic mid-market. These guys are doing it incrementally, maybe for an app, a thing, not across the board. If you go to the SMB and the S of the SMB, they want it all in the cloud, right? It would be my general overview, right? But a lot of times those are early days discussion, right? I mean, people are trying to figure out, since now they may not even own everything, or they may not have everything that they're managing with their IT staff. For example, if you're running Salesforce, you may have it there, you may have it completely in the cloud and have them managing it, right? And so how does that, tie into the backup equation or the recovery equation?
Right. So just curious, you as a service provider, you could have chose anything. What made you decide on Arcserve?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we've been an Arcserve partner for a long, long time. Not since the Cheyenne days, but since the Bright Store days, right? Since early 2000s. And it was a leading solution then, and it is now, right? It's gone through a lot of iterations, right? And so we really like them now because of all the history of, they've learned the tough lessons. They're in tons of environments. They can see, the old world, the tape world, and they've built this great new platform in UDP that allows people to move to the future. So we like that heritage, and we like the vision of what Mike and the team are doing.
What about deduplication? So that's obviously a feature, that was, earlier. I think it was Mike. Was it Mike? Was it you that said, yeah, it was you that talked about the things that at some companies are products. To you they're just features, right? And I think deduplication is a key there. What kind of deduplication are you seeing or are your customers seeing?
So we're seeing customers with deduplication rates maybe up in the over 90%. In some cases, I mean, it's fantastic. Like even for our internal environment, we probably have 10 plus terabytes of raw data when you take a look at all those incrementals, and that squeezes down to like 1.2 terabytes. So that's not uncommon. And so we think it does a fantastic job of really, doing what it says, which is deduplicating redundant data.
Right, exactly.
So I may have a couple of points, Curtis, on
sure.
this. Deduplication has been around for many years, but it's really come to a different level of evolution now. What we have is not necessarily your sort of older style target dedupe for which you need an appliance. In this case, and certainly in our case, it's built in and it's global source side. So once we've backed it up, we never need to take that and transfer it to the server or across the WAN. And that's why you get these results. We are very, very smart about that, and that means that we end up saving customers, and in this case partners, a lot of money in terms of the storage that is needed. And it's always been this issue with backups that you had to back up stuff over and over again, and you were just getting choked by the cost of storage, and we've really resolved that, and it's built in. We think it's a huge advantage for our solution, and one that now makes makes it very easy to have data and keep on that statistic have on the future. You can have more data. You can store this more easily locally or in the cloud.
Hang on, Christophe, hang on. Yeah, it looks like we got a little bit of a problem with Christophe's audio. So I'm gonna talk to Todd for a second. So Todd, what do you think your customers' next steps are? Specifically with DR. I mean, is DR? When I started, DR was we put it on tape and we handed it to a mountain where they stored tapes, right? I think things have moved a long way. What do you think is next for these customers?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think there are still some people putting it in the side of the mountain, as it were, probably more than we'd like to, think. I think really it's all about the cloud, right? It's like Arcserve Cloud. It's this disaster recovery as a service. They are looking at how do they move that environment there, but it's early days for them because it's a big move. And fundamentally, I mean, even with just getting these guys off of doing their nightly backups, when you talk to customers and say, you don't have to just have this backup window now with the way we recover and do our infinite incrementals. You don't need to have a backup window. There's some customers that can't get over that concept because they've been doing it for 20 years. So they are looking to how do I get this to the cloud, right? How do I do it more cost effectively, meaning less manpower, right? And Arcserve's tying into all those themes.
So curious, Mike, I'm sure you've talked to one or two of your customers. Do you think that with the move to the cloud for recovery, do you think is cost the main driver, or is it also cost and functionality?
I think it's a variety of things, right? It's like anything. Obviously, got to be a compelling value for them in terms of the cost structure, and clearly that's one of the aspects of what drives customers to the cloud. At the same time, there's added functionality in terms of elasticity with regard to the cloud. So if you think about the needs of a given customer, whether it's winding up or winding down relative to a service they have, those are always some of the critical success factors that they strive for. As Todd mentioned, a lot of companies will look at an application or a service within their environment, and that becomes the means by which they enter the cloud. It's the same thing in terms of how they move away from the cloud in some cases too. So therefore, it's really a kind of a duality, if not more than that, as far as functionality relative to elasticity, as well as the ability to help them reduce their overall footprint and control cost within the organization.
Yeah, I think for me, the cloud is all about elasticity, right? That is the number one thing. Is as I run my own small company, the various services that we've used, right? Everything from, somebody mentioned Salesforce earlier, right? Our Salesforce instance has grown and shrunk, and our Amazon, different services that we use have been able to grow and shrink. And all I have to do is make a phone call, right?
Right.
It's not a matter of installing and uninstalling and decommissioning servers that have a depreciation life cycle of 3 years, right? It's a phone call, and occasionally it's a phone call where they have to go, well, you signed a contract for a year. That's the hardest conversation that you have, right? Not the typical conversation.
It's not only that too, Curtis. Just going to interject, right? Elasticity is also about hiring and laying off people. I mean, you don't have to worry about that, right? It's just all that is taken care of too.
Yeah, because that is one of the concerns for the cloud is, when I talk to people, when I talk to IT people, some of them really don't like the cloud, right? Because they see the cloud as competition, right? And I say, look, in IT, one of the things that I've heard is that in IT, we never solve any problems. We just move them, right? IT problems are the same today as they were 20 years ago. We just moved them to different places. Or we solved some and then we created others, right? Virtualization is a great example of that. It solved so many problems that also created new problems, right?
Yeah, I think, though, that if I may interject here real quick, is that IT historically, was rooted in the fact that we gain great levels of productivity for the business, and somewhere along the way that got lost as far as this black box of holding the business captive. I think that this now provides an opportunity for IT in those modern environments, of which we have a tremendous amount of them across our customer base, that are thinking differently about what their value is to the organization. And clearly, in this particular case, the cloud, if done right, where it's being adopted, is one in which IT sees themselves as effectively the process gurus, if you will, or those that are helping add value to the business, and whether it's helping drive out cost, enhance productivity, improve elasticity or scalability for the organization. That's the function, and that's what we help serve. The whole thesis behind Arcserve Unified Data Protection is the fact that we're no longer relegated to any one given part of an infrastructure, but rather what we deliver choice to customers. And so if you think about the cloud, that's what it does. But it's also the same thing with on-prem, that you're no longer relegated to any given physical infrastructure or virtual infrastructure. That as you evolve, your needs change, you wind up, you wind down, whatever happens, you acquire, you divest. We have the capability of allowing customers to navigate through those waters in a way that, again, they know that we're here today as well as in the future.
So I do have one question. I think maybe it's best for Christophe. Basically, they're saying they're thinking about moving to the cloud from a GR perspective. What do you think is the first thing that they need to do? Like, how do they prepare for that?
That's a great question. I think back to what you were discussing earlier about business. What is the business requirement? And based on that, what type of recovery, specifically recovery service levels, are you looking for beyond just cost? I will say that actually having a local backup and the ability to recover locally is your best first line of defense to begin with. So that's number one. Number two is, then the question is, what are you trying to do by leveraging cloud as part of your solution? Is it to put data there, or is it going to be to actually run maybe your disaster recovery from it? And that will change what you actually contract for and what you actually set up. In addition, I will also say that people have to remember one thing. If you're recovering from the cloud, whatever the circumstance may be, remember, you're recovering potentially at slow speeds. And if you have a lot of data, it may take you a lot of time. So it's a great technology if you have really thought through the type of recovery scenarios that will work for you. And that requires the business to drive that. So I love the cloud. It's exactly what we need for so many reasons. But at the same time, having the ability to, as Mike was indicating, modify that equation between on-premise, cloud, multiple location, things will change. Understanding that is going to be very critical before you just jump and put everything in the cloud. That's really the recommendation for medium-sized businesses, and I think things will keep evolving towards the cloud, but it's not just a panacea. Just like any technology, you need a blend, and you need the flexibility to change and move from one to the other to meet your requirements.
All right, and I suppose, Todd, you've had a lot of those conversations. What to what degree, when you talk to customers, do they know the terms RTO and RPO? Do they lead with that discussion? Or, because I do a lot of talks, and sometimes I mention RTO and RPO, and I see people writing it down like it's gold, right? And I'm like, this is a term that you should know. Are customers leading with that now, or
Well, I mean, they've heard it. Some don't know. I mean, they understand what their needs are, but whether they call it, recovery time objective or recovery point objective, or they say something else, time to recover, whatever, they understand conceptually what it is, but, it's a marketing term, and like anything, I mean, we spend a lot more time in the industry talking about these terms, and they become part of our vocabulary, and they, end user customer talks about it in so much as it's relevant to them. So yes, those are important issues to them. Do they use that exact nomenclature? Not always.
Well, yeah, I don't think that doesn't matter. The question is, are they focusing on recovery, right?
Yes.
Because for so long, for those of us that have been in the backup space, we focused on the backup window. Today, backup window doesn't matter, right? In fact, many of the different backup products back up throughout the day, right? Mm-hmm. The question is, it's the recovery window, and I don't care what you call it, but just are they focusing on the recovery?
Yeah, I mean, this is what drives cloud discussions, or where do we back up and how do we back up, right? Or how do we recover? Both sides of it, right? And that's it's depending on what the need for the business is, right? And they look at, like Mike said, they look at the cost, whether that's the labor cost and or the cost of the infrastructure, the cost of the pipe, and what is that data worth to them?
And how quickly can they use the golf clubs that are behind them?
That's right.
That's exactly right. Yep.
If I may just jump in here, guys, real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Todd's right. It was, to some extent, as a marketing term, it's one in which we've had around for some time. At the same time, we're pushing beyond that. We think that customers really are desiring something around this notion of continuous availability or near zero RTO, RPO. And our whole thesis behind Arcserve is that we are on a mission to provide continuous availability, and we're very, very close. In fact, in many environments, we provide that for our customers with the added replication capabilities and high availability that we bring to the technology footprint. So therefore, we think that those that didn't learn RTO and RPO maybe don't need to learn it at all after all anyway. So we can go ahead and just punch through and get right to continuous availability and think of backup in that context. And you're absolutely right that it's like the old Roach Motel. You can check in, but you can never check out. So we're now at a point where we do want to provide high availability environments for customers that enable them to quickly fail back in those infrastructures such that they do have this notion of continuous availability.
All right, I think we're running up against our time, and I'm going to hand things back over to Dave.
All right, Curtis, thank you, and thank you very much to our panel. Today we have again been speaking to Todd Obert, CEO of Productive Corp, and we have also been speaking to Michael Crest, CEO of Arcserve, and also Christophe Bertrand, VP of Product Marketing. Thanks again to Curtis Preston, CEO of Truth in IT, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this Extreminar. If we did not get to your question, someone from Arcserve will get back to you as soon as we can. And congratulations to the winner of the DJI Phantom 3 drone. If you didn't win, hey, check out our other webinars. We try to run them at least one a month, so there's plenty of opportunities to win in the future. So also check out our seminars that we conduct around the US. These are Truth in Backup and Truth in Storage. So go to truthinit.com to check those out. And of course, check out extreminar.com and truthinit.com for all the latest webinars and Extreminars that we're running. So for now, this is Dave Littman again at Truth in IT. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks again to our panel, and we want to wish you all a great day.